Pictures up, quiet please.
Parker? What's on your mind?
I've thought about this all night. Whether what I'm about to do is the right thing or not.
Let me go in and talk to him alone, Dr. Mallory.
I did so only because he was working along lines contrary to the good of mankind.
Well, Rangers, looks as though Agents McKenzie and Hopkins are going to have to get to that hacienda and get there mighty fast.
You crush all opposition. Make the most powerful man in the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Good Movie Hunting, the podcast where we discuss the best, worst moments in film and our favorites as well. I'm your host, Sequoia, and my guest, Daniel, is here with us today.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. How did you say it? Hello.
What?
What?
That's our little 2-year-old. He's been excelling a lot and
with talking, yeah, he's been talking a lot.
It's not always a good thing. Just to have a 2-year-old shouting at you when you're in the bathroom saying, "What? Where are you, Mom?" And like volume steadily increasing.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Today we are continuing on with our spooky theme. We are doing the movie Rocky Horror Picture Show today.
Mind you, Sequoia's never seen this movie, and I said to her, I was like, listen, it's a taste. It really is a taste. And
that sounds very erotic.
Well, that fits the plot. I said to Sequoia that I'm going to need some sativa for this because it's out there. I mean, nostalgia level for me is high because my mom would watch it with Pappy and they would sing and have remarks. And
oh God, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I'm just glad I didn't have to experience that at that age too. I feel like as a kid, you're like, you really don't want to see your parents or hear them talk about stuff like that.
Yeah, I was all like maybe 6, 7 or whatever.
Oh God.
Like, there's Tim Curry doing the deed. Okay. That's happening.
I guess it could be worse.
It probably was at some point.
It's crazy. We've been watching the Netflix show Devil in Ohio. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because holy left field.
No, because the little girl dresses up as one of the characters from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I think she dresses up as Claudia.
Whichever one wears the gold sequin jacket.
The red. And Pappy has a crush on her.
They're all, I'm sorry, we'll get into this. But yeah, so I saw her dress up, in this Devil in Ohio show. And I was like, oh, well, we've been talking about watching this movie because I've never seen it. So let's just do it for the podcast.
Well, we wanted to do it for the podcast like a couple months back, but we're like, all right. And ever since we started this podcast, we pick movies and we're like, all right, we're going to do that this week. We go to look for it. And it's on none of our subscriptions.
Yeah, it's always like you have to pay to rent it, or it's on some, weird subscription service, not one of your standard ones. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but we're not the wealthiest of people, so we can't afford to be doing this all the time, which is another reason too. Like, sometimes we haven't discussed this.
Movies.
Yeah, we haven't discussed this, but it's another reason why we dropped down to like just doing one movie a week instead of doing like an actor with 3 movies. Like, it was a bunch. So now we're just picking movies, and that makes it a little easier to navigate, especially later, here starting off.
Maybe when the podcast gets more traction, we could find the time. But as of right now, we're going to have to stick to one movie because 3 movies a week, that's 6 hours. And we work and 2-year-old, and it's just
a lot.
Woof.
Yep, and hopefully this makes the episodes more of like a little, like a treat you look forward to, like a little bite-sized snack.
Yeah.
You're like, 30-minute episode?
Yeah, 30, 45 minutes. Yeah, you're on your way to work or whatever. You could pop it on and listen.
For your commute.
Yep.
Or while you're cleaning. That's my favorite time.
Or you could wait a week or two and then, catch an episode on the way there, an episode on the way back.
Yeah. It's versatile. All right, so we're jumping into the movie, which has a 78% by critics and an 85% by audience on Rotten Tomatoes. I
see that. I see that.
I don't see that, but
No, well, I wish we could find like an age group of those ratings.
yeah, like a poll or whatever of how old the
People
reviewers were.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I just have to start off by saying I don't really get it. I don't.
I don't think you're supposed to get it.
It's like I get it and I don't get it. Like, you know, I was doing the research on it and stuff, and it's like, oh well, it was kind of like what's the word? Like a satire or whatever about like old sci-fi movies and stuff, and how they were like really cheesy and whatever. And then add that with a musical, and it was just like, don't get me wrong, I do think that the music slaps. Like at first I was like, this is stupid, like the Damn It Janet song. I was like, damn it Janet, when is this gonna end? You. Yeah, that there's a couple songs in the movie that I'm like, this, hurry up. But it grows on you, and definitely by the time I got to the touch me, touch me, touch me, I want to get dirty, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in some kind of mood now. I'm enjoying these songs.
Wow.
And speaking of that song, though, it was really funny. I was doing the notes for the episodes, and we also covered Child's Play by like it's a song. We also covered Child's Play, and in Child's Play there's that guy, the actor, I have his name in my other notes, sorry. The actor who plays the detective, what's his name? Something Sarandon. And I was like, that's weird, like, because Susan Sarandon is in Rocky Horror Picture Show, so I looked it up, and they were married, and I just thought it was funny. Oh shit, really? Yes, for a couple years. They got divorced, but she decided to keep Sarandon as her stage name. But I was like, what are the odds that we covered these two movies, and the two of the actors in these movies were connected like that? I thought that was interesting. So I have a couple facts and stuff, I guess, about the show. Or do you want to do the facts? Start off with or I can do the first set of facts. You can do the second fun facts.
Okay.
So initially when this movie came out, the reception for it was really negative. People didn't really like it. But it became after a little while, it became what they call a midnight movie, which I had never heard this term before, so I was looking at it. I've never heard of it either.
I have no idea what that means.
Apparently, it is a practice that happened around the 50s, when local TV stations in the U.S. would air really low budget films.
B movies.
Yeah. Shitty movies. For late night programming and stuff, and usually they would have a host that would be making commentary on the movie as it was airing, and I was like, that's so funny. That's kind of like what we're doing. That's kind of what we do at the podcast, where we're just making little
how times have changed.
Same but different.
Same but different.
Yeah
but different. Same, but not same.
But not same.
No.
Very different. And I guess, as most people would know, today the movie has it's a huge what do they call it? A cult classic.
Yeah.
It's a really big.
Cult is a perfect word to use for it, because people still, it's a screen, a stage. It's written like a stage play.
Mm-hmm. I think that's how it was originally, and then they made it into. And they did a movie.
People still do this for plays and stuff, and if you go there and it's your first time going, they'll put a big V on your head for virgin, because it's your first time going, and the actors will come down and fuck with you. Yeah.
I could not do that. I am not that kind of person to be open for that.
Yeah, my sister and her husband and I and a bunch of other family members went, and
really? I didn't know this.
Yeah, and I dressed up as Frankenfurter. Yes. Yes.
Are there pictures of this?
Somewhere.
How have we been together this long and I don't know this?
Because you didn't know what Frankenfurter was. You'd have just been like, eh. But now that you know.
But I knew what he looked like.
Well, I dressed up as Frankenfurter, and I had a big old V on my head. But, yeah, like, in the wedding scene, people throw rice on the stage, like, from the crowd. And talk a bunch of shit. Well, anyway, I'm sitting, it's Amanda next to me, my sister, and her husband. And at the time, it was just her boyfriend. And the girl playing Janet, she wasn't no skinny, mini Susan Sarandon. She was this voluptuous woman. And she just ran off stage, and EJ had a V on his forehead. And she plopped into EJ's lap, put her arms around him, and then laid her legs across Amanda. And then her heels hit me right in the nads. And I have, like, no protection because underneath my trench coat, I'm fucking dragged out. Yeah. So that was a good time. It was in Asbury, in Jersey. Asbury Park.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, I have got to see pictures. We got to call Amanda after this, I'm sure. She's got the pictures of everything everywhere.
She has everything. She's our family's archivist. But, like, at the end of the show, everybody that dresses up that's from the crowd goes up on stage, and it's a contest. And the thing when I went, it was like $300 and Rocky Horror Monopoly or Clue or something like that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool. What a nice little story you had for us today. I didn't even know.
I was waiting for that.
You surprised me.
So some more fun facts. The set had no heat and no bathrooms. When Susan Sarandon told the studio heads, they told her she was complaining too much. What?
Crazy.
She caught a pneumonia after filming the pool scene in her skimpy outfit. According to Richard O'Brien, and that's the director, right?
I have it in here.
She was shaking with fever and should have been under medical supervision, but refused to stop working.
Crazy.
Steve Martin auditioned for the role of Brad Majors.
Yes.
Oh my god.
I think I would have loved the movie a lot more if Steve Martin was in it. If I'm being honest.
I think they picked a good Brad. Nobody can do Frankenfurter though.
I think that Tim Curry just carried the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, because like, if you look at him, I didn't
really like any of the acting outside of that.
Because it was like Susan Sarandon was barely being good at acting in that movie.
And I feel bad now knowing that she had pneumonia and she was dying while she filmed this.
But yeah, Tim Curry carried that movie, and nobody could do what he did. Like, I can't even think of one actor today that could do that. And it's sad because, like, you watch him in this movie, he's fucking moving the whole time. Like, crazy body motions and whatnot. And look at him today, it's just, he's in a wheelchair. He's all, like, fucked up.
Yeah,
it's sad.
Yep. But I had read somewhere, but whatever I was reading wasn't going, like, too much into detail about it, but apparently, like, after the movie came out, he got harassed a bit. I guess because of, like,
cross-dressing?
Not just that, but, like, also he was kind of like a sex symbol for that because of the way he dressed. And so he said after, like, the movie came out, he said he didn't really do interviews for a while. Like, he didn't want to talk to anyone about the show. And he said he gained some weight because he just wanted to look different. He didn't want people to look at him like that anymore. I've never
seen him that skinny in anything else ever again.
And even that's in sad. Home Alone. Like, that he, I bet doing it, like, actually filming was fun for him.
Oh,
but it was just everything and after that. And what a
voice.
Like, people
what a singing voice.
I know. You never would expect that from him.
And the emotion that he throws into his singing is, like...
Especially in that last song, or not last, but, like, the Going Home or whatever it's called. So...
what was your favorite song?
Touch me, touch me, touch me,
really?
touch me. I think so, yeah.
Creature of the Night?
I wanna wanna get dirty.
Oh man,
That's just the main one that's sticking in my head. As I was doing the notes, though, I was trying to listen to the soundtrack again to like, it helped to refresh things, and I think that's actually a cool thing about. So I have a really bad memory. Whenever we
bad memory is an understatement of the year.
Whenever we were like watch a movie for the podcast and stuff, if we go more than like, probably like if we go more than like half a day or more than a day since watching it to recording, I have forgotten so much in between,
Yeah,
then.
and even the notes don't do her justice.
And so it actually, well, we'll see. It remains to be seen. But I feel like because it had so much music in it, it helped me a lot. Because, they say that music, there's something powerful about music. And that's why, like, when kids are in school, you teach them a lot through like rhymes or songs and stuff, is because that stuff sticks with you better. There's something about it that sticks in your brain more so than just like speaking it or reading it or whatever. And so I think that this was interesting for me. So
my favorite songs have to be either The Time Warp, because
okay,
what do you mean? What does that mean? Like, what? You don't like The Time Warp?
Continue.
Negative.
Continue.
No.
Yes.
What do you have to say?
I don't have any commentary on it. I just didn't. Like I said, this movie was not really it for me. But
yeah, I kept looking over at her and like looking at her face, and I'm like, she's not feeling it.
No. So
it'd be The Time Warp and Eddie's song, Meatloaf.
Why is he called Meatloaf? Who is this guy?
You don't know who Meatloaf is?
No.
The singer, songwriter.
I don't know.
I would do anything for love, but I won't do that.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
That's Meatloaf.
Okay. Why is he called that? That's so
That's
weird.
his stage name.
I don't like it.
Oh my God.
He needs the name change.
Oh no. I think he died, actually. Let me check.
Okay, while you're checking, I'll continue on. In 2005, this movie was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being, quote, culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. And I read that sentence and I was just like, why? I feel like the main thing that I can take away from this is that I realized that at the time it came out, this movie was really big for the LGBTQIA plus community.
And at the time was really small and hidden.
Yeah, and to see it portrayed on the big screen like that with someone as big as Tim Curry. Well, I don't know if he was that big back then. I think so. This was, 78, I think?
I'm not sure. So, wait a minute. Meatloaf died January of 2022 on the 20th of January 2022.
Oh, crap.
He just died.
Wow.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Meatloaf.
R.I.P. Eddie.
Yeah. They both died, so. All right, let's jump on into this. The movie was directed by Jim Sharman, screenplay by Richard O'Brien and Jim Sharman, produced by Lou Adler and Michael White. The budget was $1.6 million, and the box office ended up being $226 million.
That's really cheap.
To make a movie?
And it shows.
Yeah, especially considering we just learned recently that Rings of Power cost like $100 million to like per episode to make.
Do you know Richard O'Brien is Riff Raff?
God, I cracked up every time they said his name.
Riff
I was
Raff?
like, Riff Raff. Oh.
Yeah, he's Riff Raff, and he's also the lips in the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no.
It's not.
It's his voice, but it's not.
Oh.
It's a woman, actually. They said I read her name in when I was researching,
he's got a
but I
killer
didn't write
voice
it down.
too.
I mean, they all did a good job, I think.
Not Magenta.
Here, read that first fact. First fun fact, you missed it. The interview with Terry Gross. I loved this fun fact.
Tim Curry said that he got to meet King Charles III and Princess Diana because she loved Curry in this movie.
Yeah.
She requested the meeting while he was in the production of Love for Love that they attended. Curry recalled that he was placed at the end of the receiving line, and when Prince Charles only vaguely recognized Curry from seeing him on television, Princess Diana told Curry with a wicked smile that Rocky Horror had quite completed my education.
I was like, that sounds very sexual. I don't know exactly what she's referring to, but I'm willing to bet that it means something.
There's a whole lot of sex in that movie.
Yeah. Or sexuality, at least, you know.
Him shape-shifting and going into their bedrooms.
God. That was funny. I thought that scene was pretty funny. Okay, so let's jump on into the movie. The movie starts off with a couple, Brad and Janet. They get engaged after their friends just got married. She caught the bouquet.
Ooh.
You know, that's just a sign, of course, you know, like Brad gets turned to and they're like, oh, looks like you're next. Like that just classic trope of weddings. So we oddly, they decide after they get engaged to go celebrate with their high school science teacher, Dr. Scott.
The guy that they met each other through.
They met in his class, which is sweet, but it's like, why is that the first person you're going to celebrate with? Like,
hey Doc, we got engaged. Cool, go fuck yourself. Like what is that?
No. On the way there that night, it begins to storm and they get lost and end up getting a flat tire. So they decide, we saw a castle on our way.
A fucking castle.
And
wasn't there a castle a few miles back? What? Yeah. There was a what?
And what gives them any indication that this castle is inhabited? I don't know. They're just like, well, it's the closest, habitation, and maybe there's a phone in there. So they go and they're led inside by the butler, Riff Raff, which is O'Brien.
Hello.
God, so creepy. Like he almost looks like he's trying to do Interview with a Vampire look, but
yeah, he's made up of Igor.
I know, but the look he had with the blonde hair and like the cheekbones and all that shit. So Riff Raff lets them in, and then that's when they start doing the dance, like the party that's there.
The time warp.
They do the time warp. At this point in time, there's definitely no thoughts in my brain. I'm like, what the hell is happening? I have any indication of anything ever. So despite seeing this scene unfold in front of them and being nervous about it, they're like, you know what? We're going to stay the night. Yeah, they're like, let's just forget what we came here for. Yeah, but they were going to use their phone, and then that turns into, okay, we'll stay the night instead. Like, no, I'd rather go sleep in my car. Thank you. But they only make this decision to stay after they meet the, quote, sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania named Dr. Frankenfurter. He invites them to stay for the night and also to witness the birth of his creation. So you see how Danny said it's parody. A Frankenstein bit, know.
Musical sex show movie.
It's so many things mashed into one. I think that's why it ends up making like no sense.
The movie, it's like whoever made it, it's like going in your kitchen when you have nothing to eat and you just start throwing crap and like green beans and corn and just mashed potatoes and chicken bowls, and you just make this creation.
That sounds more appetizing to me than this movie was. So
I can't wait to hear what you rate this.
With the help of Riff Raff, Frank... God, every time I say that, I just think of Riff Raff the rapper. Like, I can't.
Every time I hear Riff Raff, I think of this Riff Raff.
With the help of Riff Raff, not to be confused with the rapper, Frank brings to life his creation, a tall, muscular, handsome, blonde man named Rocky. as Frank vows that he can improve Rocky into the perfect man in a week, a delivery boy named Eddie, who is Meatloaf, apparently, like, busts into this place.
Busts out of the...
yeah, apparently he's being kept in a deep freeze. I don't know. They're not very clear about this. They used half his brain.
What happened... Yeah, they used half his brain to make Eddie. Or to make Rocky, I mean.
Why didn't they just use his whole brain?
Because...
They wanted Rocky to be stupid?
Because Frankenfurter wanted to keep him alive because Eddie was one of Frankenfurter's fuck puppets. Do you guys hear that?
Sorry.
There's an airplane.
They're dropping care packages outside the door. Continuing on. Yeah, so this Eddie Meatloaf person breaks out of the deep freeze on his motorcycle. Okay. And Frank decides that he's jealous at this appearance of Eddie and decides to kill him, but he justifies it to Rocky, saying like that it's a mercy killing. Like, don't judge me. Like, I did it for his own good. Whatever. And at this point in time, Rocky and Frank leave. Rocky and Frank leave and go to the bridal suite where they can do the business.
So I had a little bit of a Mandela effect with that. I could have swore when they went into the honeymoon room that the bed was spinning. Like it was a rotating bed. I could have sworn everything, and it's not. Well,
listeners, if any of y'all had this same Mandela effect, please let us know in the replies, in the comments, in the
where
section down below, whatever you're listening on.
This isn't your first podcast.
So at this point, Brad and Janet are given separate rooms, and at first it's like, what the fuck, and why are they okay with that?
And this is how low budget the movie was. It was the same room, same shot. They didn't even move the camera. It was just in one scene. They had Susan Sarandon, and it was lit up with a red light, and they toss her in there. And then the next scene was like regular filter, and they tossed Brad in there. And it was literally like they didn't move a thing.
Yeah, everything was exactly the same. Yeah. And while they're in their separate bedrooms, you realize probably the purpose of rooming them separately is that Frank shows up and seduces them. He shows up disguised as their fiance. Yes, and. That scene was hilarious though, because at first I was thinking like, oh, that's kind of icky, like he was gonna pretend. Do some non-consensual stuff here, but it's like he almost like lets himself be found out, but then at that point in time they're already all riled up that they end up saying like, okay, don't tell Brad, or don't tell Janet, and then they end up fucking.
And then we can't say that on here. We'll talk later with the whole Brad scene.
Oh God. So meanwhile, Riff Raff and his sister named Magenta, they're like torturing Rocky, and then Rocky has like a fit and ends up running away. And they use like that whole Frankenstein bit again where he's like afraid of fire because Riff Raff gets the candle. I didn't
even realize that. Okay.
Yeah. It gets the candelabra and he's like putting it at him, and it makes him run away. So Janet ends up, I think she's like, so it's this point in time, Janet
is so upset that she cheated on Brad, and she's just wandering the house.
Yeah, and then she ends up finding like the surveillance system, and she sees on camera Brad and Frank in Brad's bed, like because they had just fucked as well.
Brad smoking a cigarette.
Yeah,
but so Frank went and had sex with Janet, and then like immediately after went and had sex with Brad.
Yeah, he has no qualms. I mean, he's a true bisexual or pansexual
every sexual
king. Yeah. So after this time, she's like wandering around the castle. She finds Rocky, and he's like hiding in his little birthing suite, rainbow birthing box. Yeah. So she, starts taking care of him because he's apparently injured after what riffraff did to him.
Mind you, the dude's built like a house.
He has
jacked.
too many abs to count. Janet decides to seduce Rocky, and the brother and sister. Wait, no, not brother and sister. Magenta and Columbia are watching on the surveillance system, and that's where the whole song happens. The touch me, touch me, touch me.
Yeah, they start it, right?
Yeah. Is right there, and it's funny because then the girls are singing it, and they think it's funny because they could tell that she's an amateur, like she's new to all this sexiness. Dr. Scott ends up showing up for whatever reason. I don't know what makes him it's like his spidey senses were tingling. Apparently he's a ufologist now.
What the fuck even is a ufologist? A UFO?
You don't know this?
A UFO?
Henry is a ufologist.
Okay, it's a UFO.
It's an investigator of UFOs. Okay. Yes. So he's a ufologist now. He shows up at the castle.
You're totally undermining the way he just fucking strolls in there.
All right, go ahead. Well, he does not stroll. He rolls, first of all.
Okay. Strolls. Good.
He strollers in there like an infant.
Yeah, the sound effects, like Frankenfurter sees him on the surveillance or whatever and hits a button and it the house drags.
It's like a freaking roller coaster ride.
Yeah, and you hear they're using
no volition.
They're using sound clips of cars going down the drag
racing
race
and
track.
Stuff. Yeah,
shifted gears but yeah, that was funny.
So and then apparently Meatloaf is his nephew, and
yes.
that he says that's his reason for coming there. Whatever, sure. He doesn't even know Brad and Janet are there until it's too late. Everyone finds Janet and Rocky together in the rainbow birthing suite, and Frank freaks the fuck out. He's not happy about this. His little sex doll, having sex with his other sex doll.
Getting caught by his other sex doll.
Yeah. It's just a room of sex dolls.
And while his other sex dolls were watching it on camera. This guy's a pimp.
So Magenta shows up and she slams a gong and they all go to dinner and it's super awkward.
Oh, that's the before the gong. Janet, Brad, Dr. Scott, Rocky, Janet, Brad,
Frank. They all are just saying their names over and over and over again, and it's all zoomed in on their faces.
Dr. Scott, great Scott.
Great Scott. Oh my God. So they have to go to this weird dinner, and then at some point in time, Frank decides he wants to be extra, and so he rips the goddamn tablecloth off the table, and the table is actually made out of
glass.
A coffin, a see-through coffin that has Meatloaf's body in it.
Do you realize that they were eating him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because he says something about
that was the joke because they were eating
that there
meatloaf?
it was a tender subject when they were talking about meatloaf, and then he was like, "Who wants another slice?" And then everyone puts their forks down. They're like, "Oh shit!"
Oh crap.
So the body is unveiled. Janet runs to Rocky, which is funny. She runs to Rocky instead of her own fiance. And, that pisses off Frank even more. So he starts chasing her around the house.
Smacked her, right?
Oh, yeah. He had no fear. He was just like, come here, bitch.
You better wise up. Janet Wise.
Janet Wise. Apparently has...
He said, your apple pie don't taste so nice.
Ooh, absolute fucking burn. But, hey, I mean, if your stuff even remotely tastes like apple pie, I guess that's a win because that's not common.
You're spraying it.
Ooh.
I kind of wish you did this episode with Savannah. I would love to hear her thoughts on this movie.
I don't even know if she would deign to watch this. She would probably turn it off halfway through and be like, I couldn't. I'm sorry.
You definitely need to be tripping or something.
Or maybe we could go back to our old days where we would get those huge cans of the Mike's Harder lemonade and we'd share it and get absolutely smacked and wake up the next day and there would be like Doritos all crushed in the carpet and stuff. Like, that's how you know we had a really good time. Like, watched some Rick and Morty, had some Taco Bell. Like, it was a whole time.
Taco Bell sounds good.
Oh, okay. Let's continue before I think about it too much.
Boing.
I got a boner for the Taco Bells. So Frank has this like transducer thing that basically Medusifies people. It turns them into stone, and he decides to turn everybody into stone because he's just that pissed off. He's like, okay, y'all all did it now. He puts them all, so he decides to paint their faces, put them in costumes, like he puts them in, you know, the same kind of lingerie get up, and then he unmedusas them, and while they're all like on a stage, and they all perform like a floor show, I think is what they call it. And there's like a swimming pool and a tower and all sorts of crazy stuff. He like climbs up and jumps off. No. He climbs up, and then I think it turns into stairs. The tower does. You know, to jump into the pool.
No.
You're looking confused.
No.
Something about the tower transforms into him getting into the pool.
No, the tower is later when Rocky was up on it.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's not how he got in the pool.
Okay. Anyways.
He jumped in the pool when he was still singing.
Okay. So there's a whole pool scene. So Riff Raff and Magenta, that's when they declare themselves. It's like they're double agents or something. You know, all of a sudden they're in their alien get-up costumes.
Yes, because they're aliens.
Yes,
Frankenfurter's an alien, Riff Raff and Magenta.
Yes, but
aliens.
at this time they put their regular
clothes. Well, we're just letting the audience
on.
know because we didn't mention that they're aliens. They're from Transylvania.
Well, it's very ubiquitous. You do not know any of this until this exact scene.
They're from a solar system called transsexual and a planet called Transylvania.
Because he does say that in the beginning. Like I said, that the quote that he's a sweet transsexual Transylvanian something or other. But in that context, you have no idea what he's talking about. Like, you're just like, okay, this guy's crazy. But then at this point, you find out, yes, it's actually a galaxy and a planet. And so Riff Raff and Magenta, they decide they don't like the way that Frank is living his life here, and that it's time to go back to Transylvania. And so Frank does his really sad song, which I think was really good. He did a really good job on that one. It's called like I'm Going Home or something like that. But Riff Raff says like, no, you're not even worth it, bitch. Like, you're so disgusting.
And
you're not coming back with us.
Kills him with his pitchfork gun.
He's going pew pew. It's like that
laser gun.
It's like that video, the Kanye video where he's like, I'll fucking laser you with my alien laser eyes. Have you ever seen that?
I don't want to talk
They're
about
doing like an
Kanye.
interview with him or something, and he says it's crazy. But that's basically what happened.
I'm gonna buy him a padded room.
Riff Raff shoots Frank, kills him, shoots Columbia and Rocky, kills them. Riff Raff tells Brad, Janet, and Dr. Scott to leave and get the fuck out of there because they're about to lift up this whole goddamn castle and transport it into space.
Rocks, or you're coming with us.
God. So they crawl away somehow. I don't know how Brad and Janet are able to carry Dr. Scott away, but it happens. And Dr. Scott's like all still got his
makeup on,
his fishnet on and stuff.
Yeah.
And then that's what happens. The whole castle gets a rainbow over top of it and just picks up and
roll credits.
It's gone. It disappeared.
So how would you rate this?
So I gave this, and it didn't even show up in my notes, but even though I ended up liking the soundtrack, if I'm being honest, I'd probably give this movie I'm trying to think of a good object. You go first while I think.
Okay, so nostalgia-wise, I'm going to give it 7 out of 10 Rockies, but nostalgia aside and reality, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 10 Frankenfritters.
Wow, my rating was 4. 4 out of 10. I had something in my notes and it disappeared. I'm so sad. 4 out of 10 meatloafs.
It's a lot of meatloafs.
Yeah, and I don't even like meatloaf, so it'll go in the trash.
Okay. Weirdo.
Yeah, and that's it. That is the Rocky Horror Picture Show, according to us. We hope you enjoyed this Spooky Ookie episode and tune in next week for another one. And yeah, that's about it. I will drop our socials again. Did I drop them before? I don't think so.
Nope.
I apologize. We have a Facebook page at Good Movie Hunting or at GMH Podcast, Twitter at GMH Pod, Instagram at GMH Podcast. Our email is goodmoviehuntingpod@gmail.com. And our YouTube is Good Movie Hunting Podcast. Thank you everyone for your support and love and all that fun stuff. If y'all have any communications or recommendations, please reach out to us. Bye-bye.
Let's do the time warp again.
Gross.
Pictures up, fire, please.
Parker? What's on your mind?
I've thought about this all night. Whether what I'm about to do is the right thing or not.
Let me go in and talk to him alone, Dr. Mallory.
I did so only because he was working along lines contrary to the good of mankind.
Well, Rangers, looks as though Agents Mackenzie and Hopkins are going to have to get to that hacienda and get there mighty fast.
Crush all opposition. Make the most